Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning. I think we will start.
Yeah, we can begin, sir. Students are joining.
Yeah,
We can begin.
right. So they were having any other class in the forenoon up to 10:15. They were having class.
Yes, sir, they have.
Okay, so we can give an allowance of 2-3 minutes to join because
Yeah,
they have to
maybe
sit
that
down.
class would have extended a little bit. So
Right,
that's why.
right.
But they are joining. They're joining.
Okay, and one more thing is that PPT, you
Uh-huh.
can keep the first sheet as such it is because only after my oral session, PPTs will be shown. I don't want interference in between.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, you
so
can tell
I'll
me
tell
when you
you.
want to change the
Yeah,
slide. You can let me
only
know.
we have got totally 45 minutes. Only at the end of 20-25 minutes, I'll ask you to show the PPT.
Okay.
Till then, I'll be discussing the fundamentals of groups and teams. Okay.
Okay. Okay. You can
So
just let me
now,
know.
okay, now 94 people have joined. I'll wait for 1 more minute to complete 100. Then I'll start. Now it is 10:16. 1 minute past.
Uh,
97.
yes. Yes. Your count is reached, sir. We can begin.
Okay, so it has crossed 100 now. 102. I'm starting with the session. Good morning to all of you, dear students, and my colleague, Ms. Bindu. As you know, I am taking a particular session on groups and teams, which is a part of the life skills paper in the first year. Life skill is something which is trained, which you have been trained for facing the life as such. Just theory is not enough to handle the situations in the world. So we have to learn something more than the things in the textbooks to take care of our own lives. I am addressing you from the office of the principal, Ahilya School of Engineering and Technology. Once I addressed you in the first induction program, but that was from my home. So this is the first time I'm meeting you from the office of the principal. Today's topic is groups and teams. At many points of time, we will have to be in groups and teams. So how to manage yourself in the groups and teams, how to make the results out of groups and teams, how to perform in the groups, what are the deficiencies you may meet across when you are in a group. All those things I'll be discussing today. And as I've told earlier, first I'll be explaining all these things. I've already sent you the PPT. I don't know how many of you have seen it. But anyway, the PPTs will be shown in the second half of this session. First half, I'll be giving the oral explanation, which you'll have to carefully listen to me because understanding the thing is more important than just seeing the slides. That is why the slides I'm giving only secondary importance. The primary importance is on listening, what I'm showing here. So you just see here that the title of the topic is groups and teams. So what is the objective of this session? The objective of this session is first to understand what do you mean by a group, what do you mean by a team, what is the importance of a group or team, what is group dynamics, how many types of groups are there, how the groups form, and why people join the groups, and what is the influence of groups on people and the influence of people on groups. Then what is a team? What is the difference between a group and a team? And what is the point of becoming a team and becoming a team player? And then what are the real teams and virtual teams? These are the topics which we are going to discuss today. In many points of life, you would have been a member of a group or a team. Let us see firstly, what is the difference between a group and a team? A group is nothing but two or more individuals. It can be 2, it can be 10, it can be 100. I have even seen groups of tens of thousands. Say, for example, the Kisan strike is going on in the North India, especially in the Haryana and the UP area. There the groups are 10,000, 20,000 like that. So it's a big group. It's not a team. So we will see what is the meaning of group and what is the meaning of team. A group is basically two or more people. One person cannot make a group, definitely. Two or more people who are interdependent, who work together to achieve a specific objective. They have got a purpose. Say, for example, your classroom, first year mechanical engineering classroom. On the 1st of March, you are going to come to the class for the first time. So the first year mechanical engineering classroom is going to be a group. It's not a team, it's a group. In that group, who are the players in the group? The students who are joining first year mechanical. They are the one part of the group. Then the teachers engaging class for that class. That means that 5 or 6 teachers or maximum 8 or 7 teachers may be there who will be engaging class for that group. So they will be in that group. Then the head of the department. And very, very sparingly, the principal of the college also may be in the group, because this is the group which has got a cohesion, an interaction, an involvement, and they have to engage each other for different purposes. So the first year mechanical classroom can be called as a group. This is the meaning of what is a group. So there may be different types of group. I'll come to that. Then what is a team? A team is a special purpose vehicle. Special purpose vehicle means 10 of you are joining to play football. 10 plus 1, obviously 11 people have to be there in a football team. Or 6 people have to be there in a volleyball team. Or 2 people have to be there in a badminton team. So they are all teams because the team has got a special purpose. The badminton team has to win only that match. It is not like your class group. Your class group have to be 4 years together. The class group has the target to get a degree, get a job. So many multi-purpose targets will be there for the group. But for the team, the badminton team has got only one purpose. 2 people have joined for a match and they have to win that match. Maybe for the next match, the same 2 people may not be there. Team may be different. So team is for a special purpose, whereas group is for a general purpose. Some more differences are there. I'll come across them one by one. There are different types of groups, formal groups and informal groups. Formal groups means official groups. Informal means unofficial groups. For example, the class, first year mechanical class is a formal group. It's an official group. And it works by command. Command means you are commanded by the teachers and the HOD. So it is called a command group. Sometimes such groups may be a task group. Say, for example, you are all going for a visit, an industrial visit. Your entire class is going for an industrial visit. That industrial visit is the task you have got. Maybe a one-day visit. The same group is going, but at that time, it's not a command group, it's a task group. Similarly, say ISRO. ISRO is a big organization. ISRO has got, say, 200 people working in the area of civil engineering, and their task is to make the body structure of satellites. So it's a task group. Whereas there are informal groups. Informal groups means, say, interest groups. Say, for example, you are joining in a church. Christians go to church. It's an informal group, but it's an interest group. Only those who want to come to the church will come and join you. But there is another type of group which is called a friendship group. Say, for example, all the alumni or all students who have studied with you in your 10th standard decides that we will meet at Hotel Indraprastha at Palakkad for a dinner. It's again a group, but it's a friendship group. So these are the 4 categories of groups we have. The formal groups have got command groups and task groups. All this will be given to you in a PPT, so you don't have to worry, because I already asked you to read and come. Some of you have already read, but others will be going and reading it. Those who have not read it, PPT is already shared to you in your class groups and common group. You can, even that is a group, your WhatsApp group. WhatsApp group is a command group. Your WhatsApp group of the beta class is a command group because you cannot operate it. You can only see what is being posted there. It's being operated by the teachers or the principal. So it's a command group. Okay, but you have got a class group of your own class. That may be either an interest group or a friendship group or a task group. I don't know how it is formed. Based on that, it may be a formal group or informal group. The students have formed it, it is informal group. If your teacher has formed that group, it is formal group. And if the teacher is controlling it and it is exclusively for your class, then it is a task group. You are assigned a specific task. You have to do the assignments, etc. So this is how we define the groups. I think you followed. Then how the groups do form? There is a 5 stages in group formation. Maybe in the course of your life, you would have seen these things, but may not have observed. I always say that the basic requirement of an engineer is observation. The man who designed the ship learned from the fish. The man who designed tall buildings learned from trees. The man who designs aeroplane learned from birds, flying birds. So we have to learn a lot of things from the nature. So being engineering students of the first year, the biggest quality which you have to develop is observe. Observe the nature, observe the people, observe the phenomena taking place across you. For example, one day when C.V. Raman was traveling in the sea, he found a Vidyar color band in the sea. You also would have seen, but you never thought of it. But C.V. Raman thought how it comes in, and it resulted in inventing the Raman effect. That is the difference of observation. So we had a great engineer, Sir M. Visvesvaraya, in whose name Engineers Day is being celebrated in this country on 5th of September. So on the Engineers Day, 15th of September, on the Engineers Day, we celebrate the birth anniversary of Sir M. Visvesvaraya, because he was a great engineer who always used to observe things and study new things. There are so many stories about Visvesvaraya. I am not going to that. And he was awarded by the Bharat Ratna. Civil engineering students can be proud that the first ever Bharat Ratna to an engineer was to a civil engineer, Sir M. Visvesvaraya. Only 2 people have been given Bharat Ratna in India in the engineering field. Second one was Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was given for defense engineering. So one for civil and one for defense. Now let us see what are the stages in group formation. Say you are coming to the class on 1st of March. What will you do first? You'll be all rushing to the class because you are going to see it for the first time. So it is, you just want to see who else are there, whether any of your classmates are there, or any of your friends are there, or anybody known to you is there. So there will be a lot of rush inside your class. That is a haphazard stage. And there you are all, we will say you are all dependent stage. Dependent stage means you just want to know who are the others. You are not independent. You want to know who is that boy, who is that girl, where from he is coming, where from she is coming. So that stage we call as the forming stage. That is the first stage. In a group, the first stage is a forming stage or regular stage or dependent stage. The second stage we call as the storming stage. Storm is a whirlwind. Storming stage. That means after getting into the classroom, you wander here and there asking who are you, where from you are, what is your name, all those things you are asking. You are highly unstable in that stage. You don't know what to do. You feel that you want to do a lot of things. You want to know a lot of people. That is your second stage. That is called the storming stage or uncertain stage. After that, the bell rings. Then the classes have to start. So you have to cool down. To cool down, you have to stop talking to each other. You have to find your seat. You have to find a bench. And that stage is called the norming stage. Norming stage means you are becoming independent. Till then you have been dependent. You have been talking to people and all. But in the third stage, the norming stage, you come comfortably and choose somebody's nearness and sit there, and then onwards you are independent. Then the class teacher comes to the class. The teacher explains to you something about your syllabus, something about your subject, something about the college, and that means you are persuaded to perform. So that fourth stage is what is called the performing stage. And at the end of the period, either at the end of one period or 2 periods, you get a break. It's 10 minutes or 15 minutes break. That means you can break from the class. And that stage is called the departing stage or the adjourning stage. So in your class itself, the group formation has got 5 stages. So these 5 stages are, rhythmically I can say, the forming stage, the storming stage, the norming stage, the performing stage, and the adjourning stage. These are the 5 stages in a group. Hope you followed. They are very easy to remember because they are sounding synonymously or rhymingly. Now, why do people join in groups? For different purpose. Say, for example, some students I heard saying, I am a member of SFI, I am a member of KSU. Some elders I have heard saying, I am a member of NSS, I am a member of SNDP, I am a member of so-and-so church. Why do people join groups? There are different purposes. First purpose is security. Because we are all born alone, we all die alone. That's the truth of the nature. Nobody can be born, except even twins, they cannot be born together. They are born one by one only. So we are all born alone. But in this short life on this earth, we feel that in the short life on this earth, we feel that there has to be some companion for us, some friends, some spouse, some relatives, some colleagues, some co-workers. So what they give to us, they give to us a feeling of security. That is why sometimes we join the group. We feel that we need a sort of security, so we have to join. Say, for example, some people feel that if they join a particular political party, they get what is called a sort of security. So maybe it's only a feeling, but they get that feeling of security. Second thing why people join is status. Say there are very famous clubs like Rotary Club, Lions Club, where you have to pay a huge membership fees. Still people join it. Why? They feel that being a member of a Lions Club is a status symbol, or being a member of a Rotary Club is something which society earns to be. It is their feeling only. It's not a reality, but they feel. The third thing is self-esteem. Self-esteem means, say, I have joined many professional bodies like Institution of Engineers, Institution of Valuers, Computer Society of India. They are professional bodies. Of course, tomorrow we are having a session on professional bodies. Why people join a professional body? I can say that, okay, I'm a member of the Institution of Engineers, the largest professional body in India. So I feel a self-esteem. Oh, I am something. That is what is called self-esteem. And the next thing is affiliation. People can say that I am affiliated to so-and-so. Say, for example, you are closely known to Mammootty. Wherever you go, you will say that I am Mammootty's friend, or I am in Mammootty's fans club. Why? You feel that you are affiliated to somebody who is well established in life, and it gives you some advantage of that affiliation. Now, the next purpose is power. Especially people join political parties for power. Power comes by two means. Power comes by, by morale, and power comes by authority. Authority means you are in a high government office. Say, for example, I am the principal of a college. That grants me a lot of power as per the government and university norms. But in my house, there is no such power. I'm the head of the family. That gives me some power in the family because I'm heading the family. So power also can be a part of attracting to a group. Say you are joining a temple group. You want to be the temple committee president. Why? Because the temple committee president has got two advantages. It's a status, it gives some self-esteem, and it gives you some power to decide on the temple festival, the temple procession, all those things. So power also gets attached to it. Somebody joins a political party, they become the district secretary or president. They feel it's a great thing because it attaches some power to them, maybe within the party. Somebody becomes a minister, that gives them a lot of power. That is also one reason. Another thing is for goal achievement. Some people join some groups for achieving some goals. Say, for example, somebody wants to be the vice chancellor of a university. First thing they do is join a political organization of teachers. Then only they can become vice chancellor in Kerala. If they are in a political organization of teachers, that organization will promote them to become the vice chancellor. So that's their goal. Similarly, somebody wants to be the head of an institution. So what they do is they show lineage to the management. So they form in the same group with the management. So in every college, there will be a management group and an employees group. Those people who get into the management group, they get better promotion, better stature, etc. So it is for goal achievement that they join that group. So these are the purposes for which people do join groups. Then another thing is, what are the influence of groups? You have got two influence. The group influences the individuals, and the individuals influence the group. Say, for example, you belong to a political party, left or right, doesn't matter. Whatever the party decides, whatever rubbish it is, whether it is good or bad, you obey it. Why? Because you have to be attached to the group. If you don't obey, you're out. So we obey it. So that's a bad influence of a group, because whether the group decides good or bad, you have to say. Similarly, if you are in a religious group, say you are in a church group, whatever the priest says, you have to obey. There is no questioning in the church. Similarly, most of the religious groups are, they inculcate in you the culture of that group. So you will have to surrender your individuality. But the other way also it can happen. Other way in the sense means if you are a person standing strong and your views are properly expressed, you can influence the group. Okay, the group will be guided by your stand and viewpoints. Say, for example, right nowadays, you would have heard Shashi Tharoor. In many of the incidents which are happening in the nation, Shashi Tharoor comes up with a stern opinion. Ultimately, what happens is most of the people in the Congress party will have to accept what Shashi Tharoor is saying. Why? Because he has got a clear stand on things. This can also happen. So, group can influence individuals. Individuals can influence groups. Sometimes it may be for the better. Sometimes it may be for the worse. Because if people are positive, things will be better. If people are negative, things will be worse. Because you know that there are three types of people: self-centered, socially centered, enemy-centered. Enemy-centered people are the worst. In your class also, you can find some enemy-centered students. They want to make some enemy. Whether enemies are there or not, they will make some enemy. In the campus also, you can see many such people who are wanting to make an enemy. That is their basic behavior. They cannot be corrected. They are incorrigible. But there are some others who are socially oriented. Socially oriented or socially centered individual means they believe in win-win situation. They believe that I should win and they should win. I should win and my colleague should win. I should win and my student should win. That means they believe that the society at large has to develop. This is the best social behavior of an individual. I will say an individual is the best when he is socially centered. But the second preferable quality of an individual is self-centered. They are not worried about others. Many students I have seen like that. In my student days and teacher days, I have seen many students are self-centered. They want to study, they want to score better. They are not concerned about others. That is also good, but it is not the best. It is good. The best is socially centered. A student studying himself and helping the others, helping the teacher, or a teacher helping himself or herself and helping the students. These are all examples of socially centered, and socially centered people only can become leaders. Self-centered or enemy-centered people can become gang leaders, not real leaders. Gang leaders means partners in crime. They can become. But socially centered people only can become real leaders. So keep in mind, I advise all of you to become socially centered leaders. Be one with the society, do something for the society, do good for the others. And while doing good for the others, you also gain something. Say, for example, this is not my class. This class would have been taken by the teacher who takes life skill. I offer that I will engage one session. You feel that I am doing something beneficial to you alone? No, I am also learning what I should teach you in this subject. So I have referred what is your syllabus, what are the topics in your syllabus. So I am also learning. So this is a socially centered approach. I am learning something, I am transferring it to you. So so every teacher has to be socially centered like that. You can know from the behavior of a person whether a person is socially centered or self-centered or enemy-centered. Better to avoid enemy-centered people. They will create problems for you. You can get attached to socially centered people, and in the worst case, you can get attached to self-centered people. Self-centered people don't do any harm, but they want to be left themselves. That's all. Now, what are the influence of groups on the individual? Of course, after some time, I'll just show the slides on all these things. I have prepared the slides and sent you. I'm not very particular that I should show the slides also, because it's already with you. Slide reading, anybody who can read small words in English can read. My slide is so simple. I always make the slides readable and understandable by even a school student. So you're all +2 past students. You don't have any difficulty in understanding it. And how do people behave in groups? In the initial stages, there's a social striving method is there. They want to get familiar to others. They want to show off that they are capable of doing something. They want to get attached to others. This stage is called the striving stage. Then the next stage is what is called the social loafing stage. L-O-A-F-I-N-G. Loafing means just to wander around, not doing effectively. Say, for example, you are a class of, say, 50 students. You find that some 20 students are studying well. They write the assignments well. So why should I write the assignment? I always had this problem. When I was a BTech student, the day I complete my assignment, somebody will take it away. And they will return only on the day of submission. Why? Because they don't want to spend time. They want to copy it and that is what is called loafing. It's not a good behavior, but very rarely people may do it, but some people do it always. Remember, people who do it always can never come up in life. Maybe they can show off that they are doing it, but to be, the real metal of a person will be revealed everywhere. Gold will reveal itself to be gold, iron will reveal itself to be iron. You can hide it only for a short period. So the laughing people will not come up in life. Another thing is, by forming the groups, you have what is called social facilitation. What do you mean by social facilitation? Providing facilities in a group. Say, for example, one thread may break easily. Two threads may break with a slight effort. But one rope made of threads cannot be broken. That is the advantage of a group. When people are combined together in scores or hundreds, they have strength of opinion, they have strength of voice, and they have strength of action. That is an advantage of forming group. Then another advantage is, another influence on group is de-individuation. Individuation will not be there. Individuation means confining to the individual, shrinking to the individual, not going to the society. That can be avoided. If you feel that a student is introvert, put him into an active class. Maybe in your school days, teachers would have done that. If you are very introvert, you are not talking to anyone, you will be put into a group of some very talkative students. And at the end of it, you will see that you also turn out to be talkative. So the group has got influence on you. That is one advantage. And obviously, all these things, the laughing or striving or de-individuation, these are natural outcomes. You don't have to study any theory to do it. These do happen when you are in a group. Knowing the theory is good because you can observe somebody doing this. Now, after studying this group dynamics, when you come into your class, you can observe how the others form in the group, how the forming, norming, performing is happening in the class. You can understand it because, say, for example, I have studied in depth about something called proxemics. You don't have to study it right now. Proxemics discuss about how people keep the distance between them. It's a psychology and management related study. I have studied it in depth. So when two people are standing nearby, I can estimate what is the nature of their relation. This is the advantage of study. So you can also study proxemics. If you study proxemics, when two people are standing, based on the distance at which they are standing, you can exactly tell what is the relation between them. And so far I have found my prediction has not went wrong because it is based on observed principles. So proxemics is not there in your syllabus right now, but it is possible. Now, what is the difference between a group and a team? I told that groups are supposed to interact in and share information and make decisions to help each member of the group perform better. But teams are for a common objective. Say, in the final year of your class or the pre-final year, you will be divided into small teams, mini project team, seminar team, like that teams will be there. That team will be entrusted with a particular assigned task. Say, for example, the mini project team has to come up with a mini project output. So it's a specific purpose. And in the team, a leader will evolve. Whereas in a group, mostly there may be already a leader. For example, in the church group, the priest is there. The temple group, the temple priest is there. Or in a political group, already political leaders are there. But in teams, normally the leaders evolve. Leaders evolve themselves by their performance or by acceptance of the other members. So in that way, teams are better. The project team, and of course, many processes are involved in the team also. I think and one more thing you have to remember is the team can be trained effectively, but in groups, training is not that easy because groups are of a varied character. But team, 5 final year students joining a team for a project, you can easily train them. The reason is they belong to the same class, they have got almost the same input, their knowledge level is almost the same. So another thing is a software team in a company. They all have qualified, say, degree. They all know computer operations. They are experts in coding. So you can easily train them and perform better. So that is an advantage of the team. And obviously, the performance level also, teams will be always better. These are some of the advantages of teams. And teams also will have, their formation, like what I've told earlier. But when in groups or teams, a negativism which happens is what is called groupthink. Groupthink is a negativism. Groupthink means people forgo or forget their thinking capacity. They feel somebody else will think for you. This phenomenon is called groupthink. Group think is a negative process. Negative process in the sense, say some 20 of you are forming into a group. 10 of them are feeling that, okay, like the case I told, assignment writing. That is not thinking, it is acting. 1 or 2 people will write the assignment well, others will just copy it. When that comes to the thinking process, in a group or in a team, say 20%, there's a management principle which says 20% of the people do 80% of the work, and 80% of the people do 20% of the work. In everywhere, in every organization, this is a reality. This is an established rule which was given by a well-known management guru, Peter Drucker. It is not wrong, it is right. You take everywhere. In my own institution, our own institution asset, we can pick up 20% people who are doing 80% of the work. Among students also, this will really happen. Suppose you are organizing a festival, 100 students are going to organize the asset festival, 20 students will be doing 80% of the work. It's a reality. But what the others do, they feel that somebody else will do the work for them. This concept is what is called groupthink. It's a negativism. Like the old saying, there was a work to be done. Everybody thought that somebody will do it. Nobody did it. Everybody blamed everybody else for nobody doing it. This will really happen. And this mechanism is what is called groupthink mechanism. That's a negativism in the group. So I have given you a broad classification. Now the differentiation between group and team, I'll show you in the slide. What is the group? I'll show the listing, the difference between group and team. So what all things I have discussed so far? What is a group? What is a team? What is the group dynamics? What are the stages in the forms of group? What are the positives and negatives in the group? What is the basic difference between a group and a team? What is the speciality of a team? These are the things I discussed. I hope you understood these things. Now we will see the slides one by one. Most of the slides will be telling these things which I have told you, because I wanted you to listen to me so that you will understand the basics of it. Because I know that if I start showing the slide, you will see only the slide, you will not listen to me. So now I request Bindu to show the slides one by one. I'll just explain. We have got 13 minutes more. So half a minute, I'll explain one slide. And after that, if you have got some questions, you'd have to put it in the chat box. And today we have got 137 students only here. I request Bindu to see who are the absentees. I want the list of the absentees, because first semester itself, absenting in the class is not a good trend, because I want to contact their parents who are absent today. So I request Bindu to give me the list of students who are absent today, so that I can contact their parents and alert them, because in the first year, the parents have to be active. Second year onwards, our students will take over, no problem. But now you are in the forming stage. In the forming stage, if things go wrong, the performing stage will be missing. That should not happen. Okay. Now let us see the slides one by one. You can present the slides one by one.
I have moved on to the objective slide. Do you want to say anything on that?
Start from the beginning.
Okay.
Because let them see one by one.
This is the first one.
Yes, first one. It's the title of the slide. Of course, this PPT has been given to all of you. So if you cannot read something in the PPT, you can go home and read it. See the second slide. What are the objectives of forming a group? This I have already discussed. And why are the groups and teams important? And why people join the groups or teams? And what are these are the things I have discussed in this session. Objectives means objective of this session. This session of 45 minutes had the objectives, these things. I already discussed it. See the next slide. What is a group? The definition of a group. This also I explained to you. But try to by heart this definition, because in examination, of course, you have internal examination. If a question comes, what is a group? Better reproduce this statement. Don't distort it further. Okay. See the next slide. That is the types of groups. I have already discussed this also, the types of groups. Formal groups, informal groups. In the formal group itself, command and task groups. In the informal groups, interest and... See, I'm making slides so simple. This is the way you have to make slides in online presentation. Don't make complicated slides. Make small slides with 5 to 10 statements only, so that people can read it. So when you make slides for an online presentation, follow this pattern. Don't congest the slides with so much ideas. Give only the brief. At least those words will go into the mind. Okay. See the next slide. Which are the stages? This is very important, because this is quoted in many of the management meetings. In any meetings, this happens. say 100 people are grouping somewhere or you are assembling somewhere, these 5 stages do happen there. So remember those 5 stages: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. Forming means, forming, the initial stage. Storming means the unrest period. You don't know what to do. Norming means you are getting to know. Forming stage is also always called dependent stage, whereas norming stage is called independent stage. And performing stage is also called action stage. And adjourning stage is also called departing stage. Performing stage is also called interdependent stage. In performance, you have to be interdependent. You have to ask somebody, you have to clarify with your teachers. That is why performing stage is also called interdependent stage. Now see the next slide. Why people join a group? I think this I have explained to you, why people join groups. I explained in detail. See the next one. Influence of groups on individuals and vice versa. Individuals can influence groups and groups can influence individuals, sometimes for the good. Say for example, Hitler was a group leader. You know that the fascists in Germany, under the symbol of swastika, they elected Hitler as the leader. And Hitler had a spellbound influence on his followers. One more thing I am telling the students, why I am talking only in English. I know that you digest Malayalam better than English. I want you to attend the classes in English because only by listening to English you can improvise your English. I had a schooling in Malayalam medium where English was never spoken. Even English was taught in Malayalam. Teachers used to come to the class and read one sentence and explain in Malayalam. So when I joined my +2, that time it was called pre-degree, I had a hell lot of difficulty. So I had to listen to radio and read a lot of books to improve my diction and my spoken skill. Even now, I am not sure whether I am good in spoken skill, but that should not happen to our students. That is why I resort always to, it is not to trouble you. You request your teachers to talk only in English because then only your diction and understanding will improve. Wherever you go for an interview or some discussion or some meetings, you will be able to express well only if you are listening in English. Otherwise, it cannot happen. So that is very much required. I have requested all our teachers to teach in English, but still I am seeing some teachers resort to English language, which is not advisable because when you listen to English, some words may not be known to you, but you will have a tendency to listen to it. That is what we want. Okay, see the next slide. The patterns of behavior in groups. This also I told, the social striving, the social loafing, the social facilitation, the de-individuation. Striving means working hard. Loafing means ignoring and wandering. Facilitation means helping each other. And individuation means limiting to the individual. De-individuation means going beyond the individual level. That is going to the social level. Next one, please. Social striving, when it happens, when people work harder when they are in groups, that is called social striving. That we always call the synergy. When more people work together, they produce an output better than the individuals combined. That is called synergy. In management, we call it a synergy. That means if 10 people work 10% each and the net outcome is 120%, then we say it's a synergy. We can do it. And if there's a great leader, I always used to observe that APJ Abdul Kalam was such a leader who always makes synergy out of his workers because he had that knack. See the next one. Social loafing. People trying to spend less effort on group tasks when some others are performing. That is not advisable, but some people feel happiness over it. They feel that they are cheated the others. But remember, in the long run, you are cheating yourself. The performers always climb the ladder. Sitting at the bottom of the ladder, you can never climb the ladder. The ladder is in front of everyone. Who climbs the ladder is more important. Okay, that's a very famous book. Very famous book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you get time, you should read it. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by an author, Stephen Covey. The second or third habit, he says, whenever you are climbing a ladder, just ensure what is at the end of the ladder. So only those who climb the ladder can reach there. When you are sitting, so people who are laughing in groups, they cannot reach the ladder. Always remember, if you are very happy with your cheating others, at the end of your life, you will be pitying yourself. Keep in mind, those who work hard will always have many doors open. Those who work less, even one door will not be open to you. Whether it is in studies, if I am sitting here in this chair and talking to you, it shows that I have worked hard for so many years. Otherwise, I cannot be here. That point you have to keep in mind. Okay, next one. Social facilitation. When presence of somebody can enhance your performance. Say, for example, a good teacher in mathematics can persuade all the students in the class to be better performers in mathematics. I have heard a radio talk in which the person was saying that my teachers in the school were so strong in mathematics, so I am performing extremely well in mathematics. So that's a social influence. That's called social facilitation. Say, for example, Bindu ma'am is teaching you. If she speaks good English, I hope so, your English also will improve. You will also feel that, okay, I should improve the English. So this is the social facilitation. Next slide, please. De-individuation. Of course, getting out of the shell of the individuals, performing as a social responsibility, diffusing the responsibility instead of social loafing, getting involved in things. Getting involved is a nature. It is an attitude. So the high achievers also always have a positive attitude. Attitude decides the altitude of the individual. The altitude means the height of the individual always comes from what is called attitude. And attitude is what you make, not a genetical, not an inborn characteristics. If I have a positive attitude to something that is made by me, it's not a genetical attribute. So always keep in mind, you only can develop you. Nobody else can develop you. See the next slide. Group versus team. I told you what is the difference between group and team. Group I have explained so much. A team is a group of individuals who have a specific result in mind. Say volleyball team, they want to win the game. A project team of the VSST, they want to launch the satellite. So it's a purpose-based group. That's called a team. See the next slide. Now orientation. Orientation means, there are so many processes happening in the forming stage. I told there are 5 stages in the group. In the forming stage, these are the things happening. You can skip one by one. You can read at home. These are secondary things. Forming stage. Next one. Next slide. The storming stage. Next slide. The norming stage. Next slide. I have explained the fundamentals of these things. Performing stage. And the last thing, the adjourning stage. These things you read at home. Now come to the next slide. Our time is very limited. Interesting group phenomena.
In the end, we just have 2 more minutes to go.
Yeah, 1 more minute, you can just see the slides one by one. I don't have to explain. And after that 1 minute, I'll give to the students too. Anyway, everything I've explained, now they have to just read it. Just skip the slides one by one. Show all the slides and come to the last slide. And brainstorming is asking you to think about something. That's called brainstorming. Okay, just skip one by one and come to the last slide. Yes, next. Right. A virtual team is a team who are not seeing each other. For example, an online class is a virtual team. The teacher is at one side, the students are elsewhere. It's a virtual team. So the communication has to transcend space, time, and culture. So this class which we are having, I'm your teacher right now, you are elsewhere, I am elsewhere. So it's a virtual team. So online class is an example of a virtual team. Now I give you time to post anything, any question if you want, just put in the chat box. Because we have only 1 minute now. Put in the chat box any question you want to have. You have posted only your class and class number, but any question?
Sir, and I would request them to join the session on Sunday also. The influence of hormones, and they are on.
That will be a very good session because a medical hand is taking it. He's an experienced hormone specialist. So he can explain to you what are your physical, mental attributes because of the hormones. You must attend it.
Actually, the first module of life skills is self-awareness.
Right.
And
Right.
knowing your body and knowing what is going on in your body is one of the important factors in self-awareness.
Right.
And
And
because it is done on Sundays, their parents can also attend that.
right. And in this one, I am giving an assignment, a very simple assignment. Take any term which we discussed there. Take one word and explain it in simple words and post it to the group. And Bindu can give it collectively. They should write their name, then one word, and then explain it. I want them to learn at least one word out of my session. And collectively, you post in the class group, and Bindu will compile it and give me as a word file. Will you do it?
Actually, class group would be cluttered, sir. I'll do one thing. I'll form a Google form and send it to them, because
Okay,
the class group now
yes.
we have is all the teachers post their class details and everything.
Then better send a
And
Google
it will
form.
be cluttered.
In that
I'll send
Google
them the
form,
Google form.
they have to write their name, their class, and one word, and the meaning explained of that word. I want that Google sheet combined, a Google form combined, and in an Excel sheet you can give to me.
Sure,
I just
sir.
want to see who are the good students in this group who want to learn new things. Everybody should try that. Somebody is not trying, I'll ask why. Okay, take one word, explain it, and fill the Google form, and it will come as an Excel sheet to me. Okay, so thank you very much. Nobody has asked any question. So after you come back to the college, maybe I'll see you all one day. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Bindu, for providing me this opportunity to address the students and life skills. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.